right, y'all. It's time. We are ranking all 8 Yu-Gi-Oh shows. Now, I already know what many people are going to say, because longtime viewers of this channel probably know what my favorite one is. And they also know what one of my least favorite ones is, and I'm expecting to see some hate from that. But I would ask you all to just take some time and listen to what I gotta say. I'm going to say some positives and negatives about all 8 of these shows, rather you're the worst or the best. Because I think all of these shows have something to offer. Hell, the fact that all of them have strong fandoms, I think says a lot about how these anime resonate with people and how they stick with people. So yeah, in the comment section below, tell me what your favorites are. Remember, this is all just my opinion, and we'll touch on Season 0, in case anyone asks about that. But without further ado, let's get started. So starting off the list at number 8, and this might just be recency bias. We'll see how I feel about this show later. But for now, I gotta go with how I feel, and we're starting off with Yu-Gi-Oh! Go Rush. Now, to be fair, Yu-Gi-Oh! Go Rush has some really interesting ideas and such an out-there plot, it's kind of hard not to just at least respect it. But for the most part, I feel this show really fails to execute on anything it really gives you at the beginning. The show feels very long as every plot point is overly stretched out. It wants to rely on the character's likability, but apart from maybe like Yugioh the protagonist, I don't really feel anyone is super fun or interesting in this. And the show really is desperately relying on that. And I just don't think it really does anything right with anything. It's got some good duels, but other than that, I think this is probably just the worst one and the hardest to get through. All right, so for number 7 and number 6, it's kind of interchangeable. It's just kind of how I feel in the moment. But I think for right now, I'm going to go with Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains. Like Go Rush, Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains has a lot of really interesting ideas and sets up a very fascinating plot and story of survivors and revenge and learning to move on and make peace with what you've gone through. And I thought at first it had some really interesting characters to act on this. Unfortunately, anyone who has sat through Vrains probably knows Vrains does very little with any of these interesting ideas. In fact, I think in some ways it does things worse than Go Rush. Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains is a very plot-driven show, which is a problem when you constantly are bringing up characters' past trauma and things they've gone through. Because of this, you want to see the characters express it and go through it and evolve as the story goes. But we don't get that. The show is so obsessed with making Yusaku look like this super mega badass just all the fucking time. We get very few scenes of him just saying, I feel this, or I'm reacting like this. There's a couple and they're done well, but they are not consistent with anything at all. This show is obsessed with just going from plot point to plot point, taking very little time in between for you to get in the character's headspace. It's as if they took the wrong lesson from the previous 2 shows where dumb idiots on the internet bitched about characters crying too much and decided, fine, we're gonna have a mid-2000s edgelord who talks about his shitty past, but never does anything with it. This show, in my opinion, soured the whole brand, because I believe the desire to make rush duels and to make the more kiddie animes with 7s and Go Rush came from the fact that people did not resonate with this show and people didn't like Master Rule 4. So you can say this is probably the most damaging thing they've ever done with the whole fucking franchise. So for number 6, we move on to a show that many people would expect on the other end of this list, but if you've been here a while, you know I'm not a very big fan of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. I know, it's become the fan favorite. I know, people love the characters. I know. And I will give you this. GX has the best fucking duels. Like, of the whole franchise, I think these are just the most entertaining, fascinating duels to watch. I think they're played about as close to reality as you can, which is the nature of trying to sell more cards. And I will say seasons 3 and 4 are really fantastic, dark, messed up, really flip the whole series on its head, and there's a reason they're looked at as some of the best highlights the franchise has ever had. But I really don't like seasons 1 and 2. I really don't like the characters that much. They lean too heavy into the annoying side of Goofy, or they're just not very interesting. Again, I know people love this series to death, and if you do, that's great. It's just not for me. So coming in at number 5, and I swear, this was not on purpose. It's actually Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5. Arc 5, in my opinion, is the most ambitious Yu-Gi-Oh! Of them all. The plot for this show is so large in scope and fascinatingly weird and sci-fi-y, and does such a great job of making the characters feel so small and insignificant in a miserable, depressing world that it gives the show some great drama and really brings you into it. But unfortunately, as many people know, it does not capitalize on this at all. The show is so overly complicated that there ends up being a ton of plot threads that end up never going anywhere, need to be combined with other ones that then don't give you satisfying endings to anything. There are so many like moments where the show trails off and then has trouble like getting back on track. So many just aspects of it wasted, and it comes to a head when you have what is in many people's opinion the worst ending of all the Yu-Gi-Ohs, where this one just stops. And, like, it kind of left no one satisfied. No one was happy afterwards. And yeah, it's really hard to not agree with this. So much of this show was great and fascinating, and it just completely crashes and burns at the end. And I'm not going to lie, I'm still sad about that. All right, so I said I would touch on Season 0, and I think it kind of goes right in the middle. For those of you who don't know, Yu-Gi-Oh! Started off not as a big card game commercial, but was actually like this weird, fun little like slice of life kind of horror type bad guy of the week manga that then got an anime in the mid-90s that I think is a lot of fun. It's just kind of like these characters just going through kind of like their day-to-day lives as like weird little minglings with the supernatural happen. And I think in that respect, it is a lot of fun. This is the characters of the original series at their most like fun and relatable, as they just kind of like live their lives and you get to see a side of them you never really then see, I think, really in the franchise kind of ever again. Also, I love the just vibe of this show. I love the like look and color of it. Such an interesting, unique like take for things. Also, Taya's in a bikini. How can you not love that? All right. So coming in number 4 is the original. Well, not the original. We just talked about the original. Coming in at number 4 is what brought Yu-Gi-Oh! Over to the States, and that is Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters. Oh god, everything about this anime is iconic. Rather it's the iconic, fun, cool characters, rather it's the incredibly fascinating and devilishly entertaining villains, rather it's the crazy world and the card game nonsense that happens into it, all of which brought together by a sense of self-awareness and in turn a desire to just be the best it can be that I think is really respectable. And I think it's kind of lost in today's modern anime climate of just, we're here to give you this wacky insanity and you're going to fucking like it. And God, do I. It's really hard to say just to encapsulate all my feelings about the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime. And while obviously there's 3 more I like more than it, I think that it definitely deserves to be the benchmark for what it truly means to be a good card game anime. Number 3, the fucking shot of adrenaline no one was expecting when this show came out, Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds. Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds is such a rapid departure from anything that came before, and in some ways since. This show is fucking crazy. Rather it's card games on motorcycles, rather it's the amount of cool, hot edgelord teens in it, rather it's the crazy lore, rather it's the awesome duels. 5Ds is an example of what happens when you commit to what you're doing and go at 100 miles a minute. Many of my favorite characters in the franchise are from this series. Many of the most hype moments are from the series. Many of my favorite cards are from the Synchro era. I think that part of the reason Edison has taken off so well is I feel like the community really feels like this was a second golden age for the franchise. Many people who did not care about the anime liked 5Ds and thought the characters looked cool and liked talking about it. It got a much bigger marketing push than GX ever did. And I feel like there was just this era of Yu-Gi-Oh has the ability to reinvent itself, to be something new, to always kind of like be coming up with new cool shit. Now, we kind of saw where this would go and how it ultimately kind of has become, for a lot of people, the reason they avoid Yu-Gi-Oh! But I think 5Ds is a testament to just how much Yu-Gi-Oh! Can commit itself to the craziest ideas and make it work. Number 2, people were not excited for this. When Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s was announced, people thought this was it. What, some crazy new style of duel? Little kids? Fuck this shit. But I was like, let's give this a chance. Let's see where it goes. And I'm so glad I did. I love this show to death. It is so fucking funny. It was such a breath of fresh air after Vrains. And most of all, I think the best characters are here. I love the Sevens cast so much. The 4 of them are the perfect set of characters. Their chemistry is incredible. And the show just becomes about watching their bonds grow, watching them go through things together, watching them learn about each other. I genuinely love this cast to death. The rest of the show around it is very good. I think there's a lot of good things to it. But nothing just beats the feeling of when you just see these 4 kids hanging out, goofing around, just kind of like enjoying life together. And I think my favorite moments of this show come from when those friendships are tested and watching them persevere. Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s, to me, is the ultimate proof that if we stick with rush duels, if we stick with this style of the anime, it can work, because I've already seen greatness come from it. All right, number 1 is here. If you've been here a while, you know what my number 1 is. I've brought it up many times over the years. If you're new here, you've just figured it out through process of elimination, and you're thinking, what the fuck, this one? But I can't help it. I love YuGiOh Zale. And yes, it's pronounced Zale. We've talked about this many times. The X was supposed to be silent. They turned it into an X for the dub. I'm calling it Zale, damn it. I love this show. I know that was a weird transition, but we got to get back on track. I love it so fucking much. Yuma is my all-time favorite Yu-Gi-Oh character. I think he is one of the best modern interpretations of a coming-of-age hero. I think that the plot, while it meanders quite a bit in the beginning, I think once it gets going, especially in its second half, I think we get some of the best this franchise has ever produced, with some of the best plot revelations, some of the best character moments, some of the best just duels. And yes, you may find it annoying how often everyone just summons their boss monsters and sit on it, but the way they use the duels as part of the emotional storytelling of the series, I think is the best the franchise has ever gotten. I think visually, for what Yu-Gi-Oh is, I think this show looks very impressive. I think the music's a lot of fun. I just love this show so much, just as I'm sure many of you loved Yu-Gi-Oh shows on here that I wasn't as keen on. And that's fine, because this is a franchise that truly has the ability to resonate with people and stick with people. And I think that's what we've seen time and time again, as many people, I'm sure, are preparing right now to say, how dare you insult my favorite one? But Yu-Gi-Oh has the ability to resonate with people and allow for people to grow and meet others like them. And I think that's what's really beautiful about this franchise. So even though we ended on a pretty low note with Go Rush, I am excited for what comes next, because the world of Yu-Gi-Oh is always growing and changing and evolving, and there is always room for a 7s or a Zale or a 5Ds. So for now, we will keep our eyes on Konami to announce the next iteration of our favorite franchise. And as always, click to like, click to subscribe, and join me for whatever comes next.